What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota and welcome back to Cologne. Today we're going to be looking at and reviewing a 2024 release, and that's going to be Liquid Brun by... Now, I've seen two different ways to pronounce this. One says Liquid Brun, the other one says Liquid Brun. I think I'm going to go with Liquid Brun just because by what I've been able to tell, I guess that's the proper way to pronounce it, so we're going to roll with that. Alrighty, so with winter pretty well in full effect, it is time to start reaching for the darker, richer, just the heaviest hitting fragrances that you have probably in your collection. And to my surprise, this is one that I'd started to see a little bit of popping off in some of the fragrance groups and just starting to get quite a bit of hype behind it because this is supposed to be a dupe or clone of Parfums de Marly Altair. And for those of you that don't know, Altair is supposed to be their sweet, pure vanilla gourmand. That was supposed to be their winter bomb for last year. Well, that's exactly what it turned into. That fragrance is amazing, and that thing is a monster when it comes to scent profile and scent performance. So this one does have quite a bit to live up to, but I'm gonna get it started off the way we always like to get started off, and that's gonna be showing off the atomizer. And the atomizer, for what it is pretty solid. It's not pressurized. It doesn't have a real long projected burst, but it has a nice even spread out burst, so that's always nice. And what you get when this thing first gets in the air is just going to be an absolute vanilla bomb. This thing is about as vanilla, creamy, gourmand as you could possibly be, and that's right off the nose. And as far as a clone status goes, that's exactly what this needs to be, because Altair is just raw, pure vanilla, sugary, mouth-watering. And that's exactly what you get on the nose of this when it first gets in the air. All right, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and put two there on the arm. I'm gonna get this drying down a little bit. And again, when this first hits your skin, you have such a warm, inviting, just beautifully sweet gourmandy smell that this fragrance to me, so far, is kind of punching above its weight. It's definitely worth more than what you can pick it up for. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and go over the notes of this. So the top notes on this is gonna be cinnamon, orange blossom, cardamom, and bergamot. And as far as that profile goes, you do get a little bit of that cinnamon. It's not real overwhelming, but it's definitely there. Orange blossom, cardamom, and bergamot. I don't get any of that. So when I first spray this, I get a lot of warmth, I get a lot of sweet, but I don't get any form of green, citrus, or anything like that. So the middle notes on this is gonna be vanilla and elemi. What you get out of this is just gonna be that raw vanilla. So that is gonna be the most dominating, overwhelming note in this whole fragrance. And when this dries down, it goes down to a base note of praline and ambroxan, guaiac wood, and musk. And like I said, you don't really get a lot of that musk. You don't really get a whole lot of ambroxan off this, or at least I don't. This thing is just so overwhelmingly sweet. You do get a little bit of the praline, but with that praline and that vanilla, what that can sometimes leads to is I would definitely call it a background note. It is not loud in this fragrance at all, but it has just the tiniest touch of like a booze note to it. And it doesn't really last for long. It's a little more as it's drying down. Once it does kind of get to the base of the dry down, it's not really there. But as it's coming down, it does just a little. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go over the price, performance, and the availability. And availability wise, this is only gonna be online. Most dupe clones type fragrances aren't really picked up in stores. Now, if there is some like mom and pop fragrance stores, they can get stuff like this, but for the most part, it's just gonna be online. As far as the price goes, this is amazingly priced. I was able to pick this up off of Joma. I think it was $39 on sale, but I want to say their original price is only like 44 or 46 bucks. So definitely sub 50. And as far as the performance goes, I was actually blown away by that because I've worn this fragrance twice now since I've got it. The longevity on this thing is monstrous. It's 8-10 hours, and that's not spraying that heavy either. The sillage on this thing, very big. It's 3-4 foot sillage, and the projection is as well. This thing is a monster performer on my skin. And for the scent profile you get, for the price point that you get, for everything you get out of this, that is awesome to get this in a $45 to $50 fragrance. So this will be one of those that should be able to be an easy reach for anyone. But as this gets drying down, like all the way through the dry down, this fragrance does dry down relatively quickly. It only takes about 30 to 40 minutes to kind of get it all the way down. and it is fairly linear as well. So the only real change you get from the moment you spray it on all the way to the deepest part of the dry down, some of the Gaiac wood does get a little bit stouter. It picks up just a small hint of wood notes, and it also picks up a tiny musk note. So on the base of this, when it dries all the way down, really does stay overwhelmingly sweet, dominatingly sweet. But again, for what this is supposed to be a clone of, it has to, because even Altair was on my skin, it seemed to be a very linear fragrance. It really didn't have a whole lot of change. So this one, if you're not a lover of dominatingly sweet, just overpowering vanilla with tiny notes of wood and a little bit, and like I said, just the tiniest note of like a booze aspect, you're not gonna like this. If you're not a vanilla gourmand just lover, this isn't going to be a fragrance for you, because as I said, there's not really much of a change to this, and for the most part it just stays the course of being like intoxicatingly sweet. But what you get with a lot of that sweetness is you get a fragrance that is going to be very warm. You're going to get a fragrance that's going to be incredibly inviting. So on the cold weather days, this fragrance is going to be one of those just warm, natural, pull-in fragrances that everybody should love. Now, I understand not everybody does love the overwhelmingly sweet vanilla style fragrances, and if that does not fall your game, believe me when I tell you, this fragrance is pure, sweet, rich vanilla. And for the most part, and this is something I was kind of surprised on, speaking of like the richness of the vanilla, is the way this thing breaks down, the way it was kind of blended up, this does punch above its weight. Because when you first spray it on, you get a tiny hit of syntheticness, and I mean just a very small one. As it dries down, that tends to go away very quickly, and this does smell fairly natural for being an ambroxan-based fragrance. Oh my God, say that 5 times fast. But the way they was to blend on this, the profile on this was done to me exceptionally well. I have smelled a lot of dupes, a lot of clones that don't hit anywhere near as natural smelling, as good, anything on this one. So as far as the clone game goes, I feel like this is dangerously close. I think the only real difference that you would be able to pick out from this compared to Altair, PDM is more notoriously known for using more natural qualities. I feel like from the opening spray to the dry down, the Altair is going to smell a little bit smoother, maybe a little bit creamier. I don't really get any form of like a booziness at all through Altair, so that might be the biggest difference in this one. Is this one, the wood note is just a little bit louder. This one is maybe a little bit lighter on the senses, because Altair is a very thick fragrance. This one is heavy, but it's not quite as thick on the senses. So as far as a clone goes, I would say this one is probably 90% the same. I wouldn't call this an exact 1-to-1, but it is dangerously close. I feel like this is about the closest clone that I've ever owned. On the dry down especially, they smell to me almost identical. I couldn't really pick them apart. Like I said, barely was able to, but I'd be willing to bet that your average person probably would not be able to tell these apart. So like I said, as far as clone goes, banger job. They did really good on that. So if I was to give this a rating right now, I would give this a 10 out of 10 if I'm being honest. The profile, spot on, smells amazing. The performance on this, rock solid. But the biggest thing is the price point that you can get this at. For 45 to 50 bucks compared to an Altair fragrance that retail is almost hitting 400, and even on discounters is still well over 2. To be able to get something that close in performance, quality, the whole thing for less than 50 bucks is amazing. But I'm gonna go ahead and get in on this one more time. This one fights my ring light just a little bit. And honestly, the packaging, the presentation, everything, rock solid. One second. So this is how the box came in. And honestly, for what you get, it's pretty good. Came with a little coffinette set in there. The whole thing, everything about this was actually really nice. I was kind of blown away. And this by French Avenue. Usually for dupes, clones, you get a little bit of a gimmicky style nature to it. This wasn't very gimmicky. This seemed like it was very straightforward and feels pretty good quality, all things considered, all the way around. But I do think that's going to get us wrapped up on this. I'm going to go ahead and try to get this bottle one more time. Fights my ring light just a little bit. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for subscribing, for sticking around, staying tuned, watching the videos. I genuinely appreciate it. We're getting dangerously close to 600 subs. We'll be doing another giveaway at 600. If anybody has any ideas if I should switch up some of the giveaways, I was planning on kind of doing the same thing I've been doing, kind of a build your own sampler kit out of what I have. If somebody else has any other suggestions, so far I always ask, and everybody seems to be loving the sampler thing, so we're going to go that route. But if somebody else has a better suggestion, or if somebody else wants to switch it up or something like that, feel free to leave it in the comments. I will gladly switch stuff up. I kind of like letting y'all pick. It seems to be the easiest way to do it. Y'all get what y'all want, and kind of a win-win situation for everybody here. But yeah, that is going to get us wrapped up. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.